did Mr. Toriyama become a manga artist? We interviewed him directly about his childhood and the stories before his debut.
I loved to draw since I was a child. My parents wouldn't buy me any toys, and the only entertainment I had was drawing. I guess that's the reason.
Mr. Toriyama, who supported the era of Weekly Shonen Jump with the blockbuster hits Dr. Slump and DB, Dragon Ball, was brought up as a child who enjoyed drawing from an early age.
At the time, there was a drawing shop where a guy in the neighborhood would teach children how to draw. When I was around 6 years old, there was a campaign which you could win a prize if you drew and submitted a picture of 101 Dalmatians. That was the first time I saw a Disney drawing, and I was amazed at how good the sketches were. I did my best to imitate it and won a prize. That made me really happy. Since then, I started to draw a lot of things. I remember begging my parents to buy me Dumbo and other Disney picture books, and I was so concentrated in imitating and drawing them.
Having spent his youth with drawings, Mr. Toriyama went to a high school with a design department.
I was encouraged to go to university, but I had no intention of doing so. I wanted to start working soon and used the money I earned to buy lots of clothes and toys. When I graduated, I wanted to do graphic design, so I joined an advertising agency that deals with design. Even I devoted a lot of effort in drawing. I ended up working overtime or being late for work all the time. But thanks to the many flyers that I read, I was able to understand the shapes of objects such as wardrobes, socks, and baby products, which is very useful in drawing manga. Also, the sense of meeting deadlines that was instilled in me at that time has continued even after I became a manga artist. In both advertising and manga, if you can't meet the deadlines, you're going to cause trouble for a lot of people.
Mr. Toriyama left his job at the advertising agency after working there for about 2.5 years. With the drawing skills he had acquired, the way he chose to earn money was to submit his work to Jump.
I didn't have any money at all at that time, so I applied for the monthly prize for the prize money. I apologize for my impure motives. The first full-length manga I drew is Awawa World. It is also my first submission. I was strangely confident in my drawings, but I didn't get the prize. And when I drew and submitted a parody of Star Wars named Mysterious Rainjack and thought, this time I'm going to get the prize money, Mr. Torishima approached me and we began to communicate directly.
At the time, Torishima was just a rookie editor, but stories of his Spartan style towards Mr. Toriyama is still talked about even today. Through the experience of this period, Mr. Toriyama's talent as a professional manga artist bloomed.
Back then, I was rejected so many times that the unused scripts can pile up like a hill. But when the editor contacted me directly, I had a good feeling that I could get a job with this. And I was determined, so I didn't think about quitting. At first, I just thought of doing this until I could make some money, but overcoming the tremendous amount of rejections and the feeling that my work was gradually becoming more like a real manga made me find it really interesting. But that was really tiring.
The main reason I approached Mr. Toriyama was because of his beautiful lettering, not to mention the sound effects, but also the layout of title logo at the beginning. Overall, it was well done. Also, the scripts were clean and there were hardly any corrections. I was surprised by this. I only work with people who are good at drawing, since those people will make an early debut, isn't it? That was a joke, but I promised Mr. Toriyama that I would make him debut in 2 years. So he started working on a new title with the aim of serializing it. During that period, I heard from Mr. Toriyama his rejected drafts were over 500 pages. After working on several drafts, he came up with Dr. Slump. When the draft was ready, I was like, oh, it's new and interesting. I thought this would work. That's how the series of Dr. Slump started, and I don't remember having any difficulties during the meetings for the series. We discussed about the general flow of the story, but we didn't decide the precise details of story development every week. As a weekly serial, you have to listen to the comments of your readers while going against their expectations. he is really good at surprising his readers. We've gotten better results by not deciding all the details during the meetings. This was especially true around the time of Dragon Ball, and we were thinking about how to develop the story based on the response from readers. I always think that the great thing about Mr. Toriyama is that he has both objectivity and flexibility that allows him to grasp the situation and change accordingly.
Question number 1. What is Mr. Toriyama's favorite manga among all your works?
It's Kawa. As I wrote in the preface of the book, no matter what anyone says, this is my favorite manga out of all my works. I actually wanted to make the unsociable old man Maruyama the main character.
Question number 2. What were the best and the hardest things about being a manga artist?
The best part was when I started a new series and knew that it's gaining popularity, I was really happy. The hardest part was short of sleep. I was only able to sleep for 20 minutes over a week at one time. Now, it is not like that anymore, but in the past, I was pushing it too far.
Question number 3. What influences you in the creation of manga?
I read a lot of manga until the 4th grade of elementary school. Since then, I switched my interests to movies. I think that having watched a lot of movies has influenced my manga in many ways, such as composition of the drawings, movement of point of sight, etc.
The skills he cultivated were demonstrated to the world by the releases in the form of short stories. 2 years after his first submission, it was finally blossomed with the huge hit of his weekly Shonen Jump serial work, Dr. Slump.
I was asked by Mr. Torishima, why don't you try something with a girl as the main character? Gal Detective Tomato was drawn based on this idea, and it was well received, and that led to Dr. Slump. Dr. Slump was my first weekly serialization. It's a one-shot story which was released weekly, and it was a tough time at the beginning. Actually, I wished I could draw a story which fit more to the male audience. In fact, I was told that the serial would end in 10 weeks before I started. It became popular, and as a result, it was continued. Halfway through the serial, I felt much relieved when I no longer needed to concern whether Arale looks like a girl as a character, and I was able to draw what I wanted.
While referring to Torishima's harsh judgments and objective suggestions, Mr. Toriyama created a story full of his own creativity. His flexible style led to the creation of Dr. Slump, and then the masterpiece, Dragon Ball. And the driving force behind his worldwide success is the tremendous amount of rejections he faced before his debut, as well as his unyielding will to keep on drawing. Lastly, we asked Mr. Toriyama what advice he would give to people who aim to become manga artists.
If you like manga, and manga is your only hobby, I don't think you will be able to surpass the existing professional manga artists. The more interests and various kind of knowledge you have, the more you will find it useful when drawing manga.